What's going on, Falcon fan? This is your boy Ricondo. Come back at you with another video. So today I'm going to talk about basically all the injuries and things that's starting to pop up around the NFL and how it can definitely affect teams. How people thought teams was going to be able to fare this year. Their record and things like that, especially when they have some of their key players to go down. If you can recall, the Atlanta Falcons had a pretty bad year. I think it was back in 2017, right after the Super Bowl, when we had the guys right up the back of our defense. We had the safety, the linebacker, and the strong safety all go out. And that's Keanu Neal, our free safety, and Ricardo Allen, and then we had Deion Jones go out. If you guys remember that, and it kind of hurt us because you're thinking about that. It's about how you build a roster, how you build depth, and things like that. And so that's one of the things that I want to talk about today. We'll talk about Cordell Patterson um, status for this weekend. And then we're also going to talk about some of the things that expectations of things that I expect to see um, this weekend, this Sunday from our Atlanta Falcons, hoping these guys can actually come in and actually do something. So that's just some of the things we're going to get to today. So, so guys, if you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to the channel. And please hit that notification bell so you know when I drop another video. Please hit the like button so I know you guys are here that I talk about. And then please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come in and hear me talk about these Atlanta Falcons. So the first thing I want to talk about, guys, like I said, today we're going to talk about CP, his injury update, and as you all know, Cordero Patterson actually was out all week, um, nursing his knee. They said he was rest, but apparently it was had some little knee soreness, so they let him rest for most part of the week on Wednesday and Thursday. Today he was back at a limited practice. But he actually the only player that's listed on the injury report this week for the Atlanta Falcons, which saying that he's questionable for this weekend's game. I think he's going to play. We're not 100% sure, but he was limited practice day. They have to be cautious. I talked about this yesterday. When I talked about CP's injury. Um, Last year, there was a lot of workload that they put on CP. You know, and in reality, he's not used to that. I mean, he did not come in the league to be a running back. He was a receiver, but I think he had a lot of workload on him last year. If you guys recall, it was just him and Kyle Pitts are our only weapons that we actually had for the Atlanta Falcons last year. So both of those guys got a lot of work, and we could see the wear and tear that it started to have on Cordell Patterson towards the end of the year. So um, that's why I think, in my opinion, guys like Tyler Algier, hopefully Damian Williams come back when he come off the IR. Caleb Huntley, when they bring him up from the practice squad, all those guys can come in and actually be that running back by committee. For us, only thing right now, CP is the only one that's actually running the ball hard the way we like. So guys like Tyler Algier definitely need to start to step up. Caleb Huntley, if he can show some of that burst that he had in the preseason, and then once Damon Williams get back, he can also, utilize you know, his his leadership because he's one of the veterans on the team to be able to take some load off CP as well. And I don't want to forget about Avery Williams. Of course, he's a smaller back, but the way they can utilize him, like they utilized him on a jet sweep last week, using him out the backfield, things like that, definitely be good for somebody like an Avery Williams. So those are the things that we definitely want to see. But once again, Cordero Patterson is on the injury list. Injury report. He's questionable. Hopefully, he's able to go this weekend. But if not, I think we have enough running backs back there. They definitely got to show us more than they've been showing us, so far in these first three games. But maybe if a guy like Tyler Algier get more touches, he can start getting the rhythm and actually start hitting some of those big runs like we seen when he was with BYU. So hopefully, CP's gone. But if not, I think we got enough running backs that by committee can be able to actually stand up for us and be able to help us get that win this weekend. We don't want to overutilize Cordell Patterson already, just 4 games in. Like I said, if he feel like he can't go, let's sit him down for at least for this week and utilize our other guys. So we'll see what happened with Cordell Patterson. On the injury report for the Browns, they have a lot of guys that was listed. One of the guys that they had listed that I'm really thinking about is Miles Garrett. Um, he's questionable to go as well. Of course, we know he was in an accident earlier this week. He didn't practice all week. Him or Javion Clowney. If neither one of those guys go, that helps the Atlanta Falcons out. But I'm pretty sure the Atlanta Falcons, anticipating both of those guys, probably actually go out there and put their bodies out there on the line. Because they're trying to stay in the winning column. They're 2-1. We're 1-2. So we're trying to, you know, even up, make everybody 2-2 at this weekend. D Sloan says, the more reps Tyler G, the more explosive he will become in a game, and that's the hope, right? Like I said, I think he only had like 10 touches last week. He still averaged like about 4 yards a carry, so he's not bad. I think he's just not getting a lot of reps. So the more reps we give a guy like Tyler Algier, I agree with you. I just like the way Cardell Patterson has been hitting that hole. Really been hitting the hole really good this year. Running downhill, looking like he's catching the kickoff and going through the hole full speed. That's what we like to see by Cordell Patterson. But I agree with you. If Tyler Algier get more touches, we can definitely see him pick it up. Um, just really not been hitting the hole like CP's definitely been hitting the hole. So that's one of the things that we got to look at. But you looking at injury report, we can't play. We can't worry about other teams who they're going to have on the field. We just need to worry about our guys. But so far for the Atlanta Falcons, the thing I love about this team is we pretty been healthy for the most part. Of course, we do have a lot of guys on injury reserve right now, but those guys has not been with us the whole season so far. And Atlanta Falcons been playing well. So only thing those guys can do when they come back is actually help bring more oomph to the team. And we're going to get into the next topic that I want to bring up, which is the roster building and the depth, right? So this is one thing about when you talk about those injuries that I just mentioned. We started out the season, we put 5 guys on injury reserve, but um, the Falcons been playing well so far, despite those guys on injury reserve. And some of the guys that you would think that would be missing pieces for us, especially like just think of these guys was out last year, like what happened with Isaiah Oliver when he went down. Because when Isaiah Oliver went down in that nickel role last year, we definitely had issues at that spot. But this year, by the way, Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot built this roster, I think we're starting to see the dividends that this regime is trying to do. Right. So we talk about roster building. Of course, you're going to talk about the way what they do in the draft and how they've been doing in free agency. The draft, we can honestly say right now, the first 2 drafts, we had a lot of hits right now. Usually, you have a when you have a draft, you at least want 3, maybe 4 of those guys to hit in your draft, and then you can say you have a successful draft. But right now, looking at the first 2 drafts for the Atlanta Falcons and this regime, it's looked like they did a pretty good job so far. The jury's out still on Jalen Mayfield. The jury's still out on a guy like Frank Darby, but the other guys that they drafted last year is already starting to pay dividends. A guy like Taquan Graham, you already see he's in the starting role. Ade Okundeji, he's already there. Richard Grant starting to come around. So those are the guys that we definitely can see. Of course, Kyle Pitts. So we already looking at some of the guys from a roster building standpoint, from their draft perspective. These guys already starting to make dividends and can play with this team for a while, right? So building through the draft is really important. We got a young team right now. And then you look at some of the guys from this year. We already talked about Tyler Algier. Arnold Ebiketie, D'Angelo Malone, Troy Anderson, all those guys starting to make dividends for us, and that's going to bode well for us, right? So the draft on the draft side of the roster building is definitely where the Atlanta Falcons, this new regime, is hitting the ball out the park. All right, now we talk about free agency. Free agency has been a little bit tougher for this regime because of the salary cap. We do understand that. So last year, we don't have to rehash it, but when we talking about the salary cap for the Atlanta Falcons, they only had what's going on, Wallace. Talk about the salary cap for Atlanta Falcons last year. They only had $182,000, right? So they had to bring a lot of guys in on 1 year deals. All right, the same could say for this year. What they was able to do in free agency, bring a lot of guys in 1 year deals, prove it deals for some of these guys. But if you can look at the work they're doing, they're starting to create a little depth by doing this. Um, I like a guy they bringing over Eric Harris. They brought him back um, from that 1 year deals that they had in last year. A guy like Carter Patterson, right? They brought him in only 1 year deal. If we can hit on a guy like Carter this year, um, Lorenzo Carter, that'll be great. So we starting to see from a roster building standpoint, from the draft perspective, right, and then from the free agency perspective. Free agency been tough because we have not had the salary cap to actually go out and get free agencies to sign those guys to long-term deals. But we're starting to find those little small diamonds in the rough that we can bring in from a roster building standpoint to create that depth. So when we have like guys like Isaiah Oliver, Deion Jones, we put them on injury reserve. We can be able to sustain that, because think about it, other teams, when you see other teams, like for an example, like when the Christian McCaffrey go down, um, they can't have anybody in the backfield to fill that role in that depth spot because he was so important to that team. And then you can say that the season's a wash, right? That's the kind of things we don't want to happen for our team. So we're starting to build that roster, and from the free agency, from the draft, and so far, I think this regime's been doing pretty good. And the reason I say that because you starting to look around the league, a lot of guys starting to get injured. You look at the Chargers right now. Their season is could be up in the air because they're losing so many players, so many big players. But that's why you try to create that depth. So when you lose guys, you know, in those key roles, somebody can come up, kind of try to hold down the fort until those guys get back. That's what we're trying to see from this Atlanta Falcon team. So for me, when I'm looking at the roster from the Atlanta Falcons, it's way deeper roster than it was last year. Now, the caveat to that is the fact that a lot of these guys, like I said earlier, is on a 1 year deal. So a lot of these guys got to prove it, um, and see if we're going to start. If it's even a reason to bring these guys back next year. Like a guy like Lorenzo Carter, he's pretty much picked back up where he left off. He already got 2 sacks. He's been playing outstanding football for us. Our pass rush already is better than it was last year. All right, we just revamped the whole pass rush room, outside linebackers, sides from Oak and Deji, and these guys are definitely looking a whole lot better. So um, that's what we're looking at. Anthony says great depth is a must in football. Exactly, exactly. And then like when you start to think about that, that's why what I'm saying is that because we just in the fourth game of the season, right? But you're gonna start seeing injuries, guys starting to pile up. That's why when these guys do predictions, right? They do predictions. They do predictions off these teams, and they always say, um, that this team's gonna be predicted to be here, but they don't factor in the injuries that take place because an injury could definitely come in and derail your whole season. We thought the Cowboys were done because they lost that Dak Prescott, but Cooper Rush came in these last 2 games and able to get those guys win. So um, they're able to stay afloat. Michael Gallup's coming back. The same thing could be said with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They had guys out. I know they expected probably Julio Jones to miss some games, but he's been out. Um, their other receivers due back here soon, so they're going to get back to full strength. But if they can keep winning, that because of that depth, they're help those guys out. Wallace said here, yes, we have to see what we do with the players coming off our next week. Exactly. That's 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 the point I'm making because a guy like Isaiah Oliver definitely help this roster. Um and a guy like Deion Jones can definitely help. I know I came on here yesterday and I talked about our linebacker play in that Seattle Seahawks game, and I felt like in coverage, I thought Deion Jones could have definitely helped. Going back and look at the game, I think our linebackers played a little bit better than I initially thought in coverage. The guy did get up their hands on a lot of balls, um, but I still think a guy like Deion Jones can definitely help. This linebacker group. I also feel like a guy like Isaiah Oliver, because he was playing so well last year, and if you look at his ability to tackle and being able to play that dual role, being a slot corner and playing some safety would definitely help a guy, help this team out. We got Thanks, man. Yeah, yep. So guys, that's what I'm thinking about when we talk about roster building and depth. I think this regime has done a great job so far. Um, Usually, when you think about draft picks, you looking probably around that third year to see if the draft class was good, but these guys had to get put on the field like early and right away, right? So we already getting to see, um, you know, how these guys are going to fare, and usually, the jump from year one to year two is better than the jump from year two to year three is even better than that. So if we could get our draft class to get better each year, like we've seen. Like I said, Richard Grant. Last year, everybody talking about where's Richard Grant. He was second round pick. We starting to see him develop and get better. That's what we want to see. Of course, Kyle Pitt's going to be there, but we can see a guy like Armor Ebiketie take steps this year. Taquan Graham, it's definitely he got like so many pressures and hits on the quarterback, not turning into sacks yet, but we all know you know, sacks are good statistics to have and things like that. But quarterback hits and pressures is very important as well, and that's what Taquan Graham is bringing to the table. And then we can't forget a guy like Marlon Davidson as well. All right, they didn't draft him, but Marlon Davidson is also somebody that's going to be coming back after IR. Definitely somebody that can plug and play into the defensive line. Now we do got to remember bringing all these guys back from IR for next week, that means somebody's got to get cut, right? So that's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do when they actually bring in guys um, back from the IR, because somebody's going to have to get cut on the roster. So that's going to be interesting next week. While it says we got a lot more depth this year than we had last year, 100%. It's across the board too. It's not just in one or two positions. I mean, just if you just looked what Kobe Gossett was able to do um, at the left guard spot last week. That was impressive. I mean, it's like we didn't even miss a beat with our offensive line. Kobe Gossett came right in. You can see his combo blocks was good. He was getting up to the second level. Um, Marcus Mariota was getting time for the most part. A lot of the sacks Marcus Mariota got last week, it was not offensive line. It was like free blitz. Maybe something that he probably should have seen, but for the most part, offensive line has been doing good. And bringing a guy in like Kobe Gossett, I don't think last year we would have brought a guy in. Maybe Jalen Mayfield wasn't playing that good anyway, so um, we'll have to see. And to say, I think it's funny how people, especially Falcon fans, are already giving up on us just because we lost two games. Yeah, we made a couple mistakes, but I think, I mean, if you think about it, and any team can say this, but I think it's true for the Atlanta Falcons, this team this year. The fact that we could easily be 3-0. If you take back some of those turnovers we had, just the turnovers alone, I think we could be a 3-0 team, and then they could be talking about the Atlanta Falcons in a whole different light. Um, I mean, so many teams in shambles. I don't know if you've seen the report today. The Carolina Panthers said Matt Rule has lost the locker room. Um, we see in New Orleans right now, they talk about putting Andy Dalton in over Jameis Winston already. So things are happening. around the league, and we were supposed to be the terrible team this year, but if you looking how this team's playing, how competitive they are, and that's one of the things I know we all wanted to see this year. This team be competitive, right? We knew the situation we was in. We got rid of our franchise quarterback for 14 years. We had the biggest dead cap hit in NFL history. But this team is competitive, and they're showing that week in and week out. So, and they have opportunity to actually, to, to be in contention this year. That's just the fact right now. They got to still put it on out there and do their things. What's going on, Mitty Mills? But those are things that they definitely got to do. While it says, uh, yeah, they can cut them, put on. Yeah, they're gonna have to. Yeah, I mean, I'm just interested. I think about the guys that they initially cut. A guy like Nick Kukowski, um, Abdul Anderson, cornerback. Those guys, some of those guys, we already know probably is going to be out the door, but they definitely can bring it back on the practice squad, which means they got to cut people from the practice squad. So they already said it's revolving roster. We'll just have to see. Be interesting to see if they don't bring everybody back next week. Some of those guys might not be ready. I mean, they're allowed to come back next week, but some of those guys probably could stay on the injury reserve. We just have to wait to see what they decide to do with some of those guys. Even with the two losses, we're still in the mix because a few teams. Yes, that's 100% true. Like I said, that what's exciting about this game on Sunday is the fact that we can be at 500. Last time was at 500. I think somebody said it last show, 2017. So um, that would be a big step for this team, right? Just to be at 500. 4 games into the season, so we can definitely get at 500. That's where I want to. That's where I would like to see us if we can get there. Millie Mill says, so Matt Rule will be gone by. I. It's interesting, man. I don't know. If you guys go out and look on Twitter, you'll see a clip where he said that the receivers need to help Baker Mayfield out by getting open, and then that was brought to DJ Moore, and DJ Moore kind of smiled like, "Oh, that's how it is." So it might be sooner than that. I think if they end up losing their next 2 games, it could be before week 8 or week 10. So we'll just have to see. Jameis going to be out there the game against the Vikings, and Dalton. Oh, they already announced that he's going to be out. So there you go. Jameis Winston already out. I mean, if he can't push the ball down the field, that's what he does the best anyway. Um, so and Anthony, Andy Dalton get out there, does his thing. Maybe Jameis don't get the reins back. Well, we'll just have to see. But all that, the Panthers and the Aints having issues bodes well for us, right? Because the first thing we gotta do is try to do well in our division, and then go from there. And I mean, the Bucks has not been, knocking teams off, by a large margin either. So it's not like they're way ahead of us. Um, they're having issues, especially with their offensive line, their injuries that they've been having, with their receivers. So it's not just a cakewalk for those guys either. If it came out the injury report, I knew Michael Tumble was going to be out. So I mean, they could easily lose this game, and then we could be, if we could get us a win, we'll be right there in the mix in our division. And going into that Tampa Bay game next week. Falcons are going to be nasty. I hope so. I hope you're right, man. I hope you're right on that. All right, guys. Let's see here. All right, so I'm going to get into a couple of things that what I would like to see this weekend. You guys definitely let me know what you think you want to see from this team. But these are some of the things that for me, I think we can do this stuff Not just the keys I talked about on Wednesday, but this kind of stuff that's playing the game within the game. They can do these things. I think we'll definitely be successful this weekend. First thing is they got to continue to run the ball. We talked about Cordell Patterson, but we can run the ball by committee. Like if we could Caleb Huntley, if they decide to activate him this week, Avery Williams, Tyler Algier, Cordell Patterson, run the ball. I mean, they need to continue to do that. We're fifth in rushing right now in the league. We need to continue to be that way. Marcus Mariota is not a drop back passer every down kind of quarterback. So that run game is going to be important to us. It's open up our passing game, which has been working very well for us so far. So to me, especially against this Cleveland Brown team, continue to run the ball, utilize the play action. Arthur Smith continued to use the multiple formations to put pressure on the defense to kind of figure out what we're doing and keep that each team that we're playing off balance this year. That's that's one of the great things about the offense. We still in top 10 in scoring, so we just need to continue to do that. And I think our run game is one of the reasons why we've been able to do that all season. Yeah, you said that. Either way, man, we got to win something. Billy Mill says, I'm really worried about a Joku game. He's their number two option. That yes, that's one of my keys. One of my keys on Wednesday was Joku and Cooper. Joku had I think 9 receptions against the Steelers, and so he's definitely probably on their scouting report somebody they're definitely going to keep an eye on, make sure that he don't wreck the game for us. It's a pretty good athletic tight end, so we definitely got to be able to lock him down. Good thing about you know guys like Ojoku, they get to practice against um you know Kyle Pitts every week, so um they should have some experience playing athletic big tight end. So hopefully a guy like Joku is won't hurt us too bad. Limit him. He had, like I say, he had 9 receptions last week. Hopefully that's not the case for us this week. Wallace said we're not going to see Huntley this week. CP is going to be fine. Yeah, man. Hey, I hope so. Like I said, I, I hope he's going to be out there ready to go. But like I said, I still don't see an issue with by committee. It's just week 4. I mean, I love the way Cordell Patterson is running the ball, but at the same time, um, I just don't want to wear him down. I mean, just me. Like I said, I don't know if he used to taking all that pounding, at running back like that. Um, but so I agree. I think he's still fresh right now, but we want him to be fresh in November and December too. So that's why I'm saying, you know, if they want to bring those other guys in to spell him. And what I mean by spell, I'm talking about series, not like he sit out a whole series and these guys can come in, and offense don't take a step back. That's what I mean. If that can happen, that's what I would like to see from our running game. So, like I said, guys, that's one of the things I want to see. I want to see us run the ball this week. If we do that, I think we could be happy. Come in here Sunday evening and talk about the good things we seen this weekend. Uh, Next on the list is no turnovers. I mean, this right here is I'm definitely hopefully we can see one week where the Atlanta Falcons do not turn the ball over. Right? I think if we could have a clean game from a turnover perspective, um, this definitely will help us out. We already know what type of game it's going to be. It's going to be a run game, run heavy game on both sides of the ball, which means that the time possession and the number of possessions that each team probably will have will be probably less. So turning the ball over is not a good thing for us. So this is one of the things that you're supposed to improve on. Week in and week out. You're building on those mistakes that you had. So for Marcus Mariota, for the most part, he's not only one turning the ball over. We had some strips by some of our receivers as well, but turnovers, turnovers, turnovers. We could have one game to start off like not turning the ball over. Luckily, the last week did not hurt us, especially the crucial turnover in the fourth quarter. But if we could have one clean game without turnovers, um, and I know nobody goes in saying they're going to turn the ball over, but um, the way we've been turning it over, I think it's been mental mistakes more than um, you know somebody making plays. I think that the two strips, um, in the Aints game, those plays was made by the opponents, but a lot of times most of our turnovers this year, in my opinion, has been where we have made minimal mistakes and just fumbled the ball and at the worst times too, in the red zone at the end of the games, things like that. So that's my one of my things. Billy Bill said we can't get into too many third and shorts. We have to get off the field on third down, fit this and drive, stop them. And yes, so we all know for the Cleveland Browns, those guys um wants to run the ball. That's what they want to do. It's no secret there. And if you looked at their first three games, um, they averaging like 5 to 6 yards on first down. So they've been putting themselves in very good second and third down, you know, um, opportunities for them. That's one of the things that we have to try to keep those guys. Or we want to try to keep them, in second and long, third and longs, and things like that. But that's definitely it's going to be a big key for us to make sure that um, we're able to stop the run. I mean, it's just that simple. Like I said, it's no secret this week what the big deal for the Atlanta Falcons. Um, so all you got to do when you look at this game at the end, look at the stats. If the Atlanta Falcons couldn't stop the run, we took the L. If we could stop the run, we might say we actually won that game. So that's just the way it's going to be. But CP second year enrolled as running back is better prepared. Yeah, I know. Wallace, I get it, man. I'm tracking. I'm tracking what you're saying about CP. I know he's prepared. That's why they limit him in preseason and things like getting him ready for this long season. And I know that's why he got this rest this week as well. So um not saying that CP is going to wear down, but I just want to be on the cautious side. I mean, I actually be honest with you, I'm just really just want to see Tyler Algier because he's one of the guys that I actually picked the Falcons to actually select in the draft, and I think he's a good fit for this offense. So I just want to see Tyler Algier get more touches anyway. So put him in there and let him see can he get a series by himself. If they can keep the drive going, and that's what I mean about just running back by committee. Most times now, even the Cleveland Browns, they have a two-headed monster. So that's what I mean by just sharing the load from CP. I think Tyler just need to hit the whole CP, and yes, yes. But I think what we were talking about earlier, if he get more carries, I think he get more comfortable. Um, a lot of running backs in this league, they have to get in a rhythm. I mean, that's just it. CP, he's definitely different. Um, like I said, because he just athlete, different guy. Um, like I said, CP gets that ball and he hit the hole like he's running the kickoff back because he just once he see a hole, he's full speed, right? Because that's how he had to do on kickoff. So I think by that that's how his running style. That's by nature. He's going to hit the hole hard because he's going to get through there. Tyler Algier, a little bit taking your time. He's got to go ahead and hit their holes. But I believe he get more reps, start getting a rhythm. I think Tyler Algier start to actually start to do some things. So that's what I want to see from Tyler Algier. All right, guys. Like I said, turnovers. Turnovers. Hopefully, we could limit those. Next on the list is just one of the matchups that I'm really itching to see this weekend, and that's AJ Terrell against Amari Cooper. Um, AJ he wanted DK Metcalf last week, and he followed him around. So hopefully he does the same thing with Amari Cooper, one of the best route runners in the NFL. Amari Cooper have had two 100 receiving yard games so far this season. So this is going to be a big test again for AJ Terrell. This is what we wanted for him. We wanted him to be able to take on the 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 other team's best receiver and follow him around. That's good. I think he's capable of doing it. So I like the fact that that's something that he's willing to do. But I think this is going to be a great matchup for us. If we could see AJ Rail can repeat what he was able to do against DK Metcalf last weekend, I think we have a good chance, right? Because we know um, that Jacoby Brissett is going to be looking for Amari Cooper. So putting AJ Terrell on Cooper, trying to follow him around the field, you know, being that technician that he is, hopefully we're able to see AJ Terrell have a repeat performance that he had last week, right? It's a smaller receiver, which I think bodes real well for AJ Terrell. Usually he's having those big receivers. He had Michael Thomas. He had um, DK Metcalf last week. Of course, Cooper Cup playing in the slot a lot. Amari Cooper's not that. He play on the outside, so I think it's going to be a good matchup for AJ Terrell, and hopefully he's ready to take on that challenge. Yep, yeah, that's what he do, man. Yeah. He says, I think we need to have more possessions than the Brown to keep the offense on the sideline. Yes, yes, yes. I mean, the one thing about Arthur Smith, he understands. And everybody give Arthur Smith a lot of grief, but he does understand situational football. He tries to play the game, and like I said, like I always call it, the game within the game. For an example, trying if we getting the ball, coming out the second half, try to put points on the board right before the halftime, right? Things like that. Situation when you get into the 4 minute offense and try to like we tried to do in Seattle last week, got into the 4 minute offense. He was running the ball down Seattle's throat, and then what happened? We fumbled the ball. So understanding that Arthur Smith is real good at that, trying to play the situational football, but you have to play between it being aggressive and being too conservative. Sometimes last year he got caught up in that. One in particular, I think about the game we had against the Washington football team. Of course, they're the Commanders now, but kind of thought he got a little bit conservative in that game instead of being aggressive. And then he learned it. He's first year head coach. He learned from that. So those are kind of things that Arthur Smith definitely try to do is try to play situational football. And this is one of the keys right here is keep that offense on the sideline. And by doing that, go back to the first thing that I want to see is continue to run the ball. If we can run the ball, control the clock, right? And the biggest key is control the clock and put points on the board. That's what you got to do. So if we able to do that, um, and keep these guys on not, because like I said, even Nick Chubb want to get in rhythm as well. So if we keep him on the sideline, he's not able to get in rhythm, you know, that's what we want. I think DP defensive scheme should probably confuse Brissett. but we can't bring too many blitzes on these guys. At this point, man, I don't know because I would have thought that Dean Peace would have confused Geno Smith last week, and then Geno Smith threw for 325 yards. So I don't know. We'll just have to just let them play the game. I have no idea anymore what to think about because I was with you last week. I thought Geno Smith was going to be confused, but he looked it great last week. Like he knew where to go with the ball. Um, actually believe Jacoby Brissett is a better quarterback than Geno Smith, so we'll just have to see. And the I think they got a better running attack than the Seattle Seahawks. So this is definitely a tougher matchup for the Atlanta Falcons this week. So we just have to see whatever Dean Pease. I think one of the things he said he's going to do whatever he had to do to win the game. So that's what I want to see him do this week. So yeah, like I said, guys, AJ versus Coop. That's what I want to see. Hope you guys want to see that too. AJ, go ahead and follow him around, man. If we could limit Amari Cooper, and he had to find Donald People Jones, guys like that. Um, that's the key. William said here, he said man to man or press coverage. I think this might have to be the way to go, right? Because you might have to put 8 in the box. Let's just be honest. We actually might have to go 8 in the box. So man to man might be the way to attack this team, right? And put your, I mean, you got a pretty good young cornerback, and then you got a veteran cornerback on the other side. So um, is this what we have to do to actually stop the run? Because the first thing we have to do is stop the run. So they might have to put 8 in the box. So we might have to go to man on the outside, right? And live with it. Jan receiving line of scrimmage. Exactly. We have to play. This is one of the things that we can do. AJ Terrell pretty good press corner. I'm not sure how good a press corner Casey Hayward is, but we'll just this is one of the ways we can because I feel like we might have to go 8 in the box, right? So we'll just see. And we can limit Cooper and people also stop their running game. We'll pull this win off at home. Yeah, the first key is the running game more than anything. We can start the running game. I think put the ball in Jacoby Brissett hand and let the chips lay where they made in at that time because once we start running, that's what they want to do. They want to run the ball, right? But we can't let them do both. So Wallace says, but I think the defense is playing bend don't break until the fourth quarter before P start. Yes, that's what it looked like they did. I I I was really frustrated in those first 3 quarters. Um, I'm not going to even lie because I felt like they wasn't pressing. They was playing off coverage a lot with those receivers. To your point, Wallace. So it seems like you're right. It seems like they was playing between the 20s, right? And then when they got in the red zone, Dean Pease and he's they stood up and they was able to hold those guys to field goals. So that's the game plan. If you can, pull that off every week, put up how many yards you want to put up, but you're not getting in the end zone. We was able to do that 3 times with Seattle last week, and remember they only scored 3 points in the second half. So if we can do, what where Wallace suggested here, play that bend on break defense, tighten up in the red zone, holding the field goals, and then our offense score touchdowns instead of field goals. That's a formula that worked for us last week. If we can do that again, we'll just have to see if that's going to work for us. Mariota is the X factor. They struggled against Trubisky moving around last week, and Garrett was playing. Yes, yeah, Mariota. That's why I like the fact that he's playing in the game right now. I know everybody's ready, to see what Desmond Ritter all about, but his threat of just running the ball is so vital to this whole offense. I mean, if you just look, when he holds that read option, how the defensive end has to stop for a pause just for a second to see if he's going to keep the ball. And by the time he gives the ball off, the running back's already through the hole, right? And if the defensive end crashes down, he just keep the ball and he's out the backside. So that's why that defensive end has to pause for a second. Those linebackers have to pause because they don't know if it's going to be a pass or a run. So a lot of things that Mariota does with a read option is definitely helping this offense, you know, to be as explosive and excessive that it has been through these first three games, right? And trust me, he knows how to run that type of offense. That's what he did. I mean, he ran it to perfection in Oregon because that's how he got the Heisman Trophy. So he knows how to hold that ball, hold that mesh. That's why it's so disappointing that whatever happened on that exchange between him and Tyler Algier in the fourth quarter was just because that's what he do. That's the kind of he's that type of quarterback. It's not something handling the ball on a read option, and that's what he's known for. So he should not have to make that mistake. That's what happened, but he did. So we'll just have to see what happens. Um, he said you didn't like Gino was having it. Yeah, he was man. He was eating it up, man. Gino was. I mean, he had 325 yards, and then I go back to this stat because what's really telling is that before last week game against the Falcons, the Seattle Seahawks only put up 469 yards total offense in the first two games. They put up 420 yards against us. So that's why, honestly, personally for me, I was disappointed in our defense those first three quarters because I couldn't believe how easily they was moving the ball up and down the field. However, if you go back and look, like I said, they only gave up 3 points in the second half. They hold them to field goals. If that was Dean Peace, scheme philosophy, playing off coverage, let him move the ball, then tighten up in the red zone, it worked. But I don't think that's a formula that could sustain, throughout the year because it's a lot of better quarterbacks than Geno Smith, and if you let them drive the ball down in the red zone, they're going to be able to get it in. So I like the formula. Personally, I like the formula that we used against the Aints in the first game. Attack, 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 pressure, pressure, pressure. That's the formula I like. Um, I thought that's the kind of defense we was going to see, each week. But the next, the last two games, we seen more of a off coverage and letting these guys get to us for the first three quarters, and then we tighten up in the fourth. Um, I don't like that. So don't let too many explosive plays, pass game, run game. I mean, that's go without saying right there. William, you're 100% correct. Just explosive plays is the killers. I know that's one thing that when Dan Quinn was here, Dan Quinn, that's one of the things. His no explosive plays, right? If you're going to beat them, they got to drive the field, right? Even though it's it sucks when, especially when you at home and the team keep getting first down after first down after first down after first down. That's how you take the crowd out of it, especially when you're on defense because you know they get in third down and then it get hypes up. It's third down, and then they get a first down. And then they go first down, second down. It's third down, then they get a first down. We don't want to see that. We want to be able to see more three and outs. Like somebody said here earlier, we want to see three and outs. We want to see things like that because that's how you get the crowd in. That's how you get the crowd behind you. So, you know, even though explosive plays is bad, but I think those long methodical drives by the offense, defense giving up is bad as well. I just wonder what P is going to call. Play the blinkers later. Hey, one game at a time, man. One game at a time. I can tell you this: watching that game last night, Joe Burrow is going to take shots. So it no matter what Dean Pease call, he loves to take shots down the field. So our defensive backs got to be ready for that game. Wallace says, but I think Pease is going to play the defense according to the team we had to play that week. Yeah, I mean that's what it seems like, which is what you really want to see from a defensive coordinator, right? You don't want to just play the same defense and be like that's what we do. They're gonna have to stop our no. He played multiple defenses, like we talked about on Wednesday. The multiple fronts that we can play because he can go into a 4-3 type defense, or he can go to that um, that 2-5 that he used last week, some in Seattle. So he can go to the 3-4. So he can play so many multiple, fronts and multiple different schemes on the back end where the safeties are interchangeable. The nickel can go back and do safety, things like that. So he plays a multiple defense. That's why it's kind of tough, especially for the young guys to get it. He mentioned Troy Anderson, just put him in to do one particular thing that he know how to do. So things like that, I agree with you 100%. He's going to play to whoever we're playing. We know this team want to run the ball, so I expect to see more defense alignment active this week, right? So that's what I expect. We'll just have to see. Let me get to my next point here. Um, this is the big one here, right? Our D line against their O line. They got one of the best O lines in the NFL, if not the best offensive line in the NFL. So this is the matchup of the game, guys. This is right here is what is going to determine um, who wins this game. It's the trenches. Our D line against their offensive line. This, in my opinion, is the key to the game. If we could, hold up against their offensive line, which is like I said, it's a pretty good offensive line, and they got two amazing backs back there. If our defensive line can hold up, this is to me this the matchup the game for us. Um, this is where you start thinking where we talking about when I talked about depth earlier. Think about so many guys that we lost, um, you know, during the off season and training camp and things like that. Eddie Goldman would have been a good guy to have right now. Maybe Vincent Taylor, guys like that, because this right here is where we need to be win the battle. It's our defense lines against their O line. Because what it's what he did with the Patriots, play different. Yes, and that's where he get his philosophy from, Bill Belichick. Playing a different game plan every week. This is the way the offense don't know what you're going to do as well. So when the offense trying to game plan for your defense, they have to figure out what you're going to be doing. I think this is brilliant. Um, the way to do this. So I agree with you. Changing the game plan from week to week to your opponent, keep these guys, thinking about, because if you get into a normal, and I know some defensive coordinators do this. The Tampa 2 is what they run, right? The cover 3 is what they run, and then they get into that, right, and then they can't change it up, and then the offense start to figure out. They already know where the holes at and things like that, and they just pick it apart. What's going on, Drady? Wallace says, yes, I think this is going to be a heavy start to the game. Start the run. Yes, the D line, O line is the key. That's where we're gonna. This is what's going to determine the game. Right there is our O line, our D line. We need to stop the run. I remember when Brisket killed us under Dan Quinn. I remember that too when we played against the Colts. I remember that game. Um, Bidemet says the weakest link is the center. That's it. Well, if that's the weakest link, guess who? Guess who in the middle? Big Grady, right? So let Grady work. Let Grady go to work. Then if that's the weakest link, let's see what Grady can do. I mean, this is one of the biggest tests for us. I know it's one of the games. I feel like we could win this game, so I'm not, um, you know, so down on us. But at the same time, um, these guys been averaging like 4 to 5 yards on first down. First time 4 or 5 yards to carry. I think Nick Chubb alone averaging about 5.4 yards to carry. So I mean, this is this is where we's going to determine where we're going to put our big boy pants on right now. So we got to be able to stop the run. As simple as that. And like I said, if the center of the weak spot, you see what Grady does. Yeah, Grady, man, Grady's been playing lights out. And one thing about Dean Pease, what Wiley was talking about, Grady's all over the line. He's not just playing in one spot. They got him on the end, they got him on the middle, so he's all over the line. Um, I love their stunts and things that they're doing. I love the way Lorenzo Carter is getting that push. And if you go look at it, of course they playing against a Ricky tackle last week, and he set him up for that sack that he got in the fourth quarter. He had been setting him up all week, all game long. Going on outside. Then he got that push up and pushed it right back into Geno Smith's lap. So those two guys, the veteran guys on there, like I said, Taquan Graham has been playing outstanding football. He's not getting sacks, but trust me, guys, he's getting hit and pressures on the quarterback, and those things that don't show up on stats, but you watching the game within the game, you'll see the how well Taquan Graham is playing. Right, we haven't called Anthony Rush name yet this season, but he's supposed to be the anchor. That's to me, that's probably one of our weakest points on our depth. Is right there at that that nose tackle position. So we got to be able to to get that pressure up the middle. That's where we're gonna be able to wreak havoc on this offense defensive line. So that's the biggest thing for me. This is the to me, this is the game. And last time I seen the Falcon get destroyed from a running the ball, well, it was two games last year in particular. It was that San Francisco game when we went out to San Francisco, and then the Carolina game that we played at home. We could not stop the run. And then if you go back to the first game of the season against the Philadelphia Eagles, where um, Jalen Hurts ran the ball all over so well, but those games, it was bad for our defensive line. But we revamped our defensive line this year. We playing a whole lot better. So they know the mission. They know what it's going to take. It's no surprises happening here. I mean, I think everybody will be surprised if the Cleveland Browns come out and try to throw the ball a lot. Everybody will be surprised, and I would welcome that if they want to, go away from the run and start throwing the ball a lot. By all means, go ahead and do that. Water said he think Rush can eat the center. I hope he can, man. Like I said, we haven't heard a lot from Anthony Rush this year. He did play well last year, but maybe I need to go look at some of his film and see if he's actually making some plays out there. Like I said, because sometimes those guys not going to make the play, but they open it up for other guys. Because if he taking on double teams and things like that, leaving it out for his linebackers and guys like Grady to eat. That's what we want to see. So um, I need Malone this game as well. More pass rush is better. Yes, yes, D'Angelo Malone definitely somebody they could utilize. Um, but I really believe they're going to go more heavy, in the trenches this week. So if they don't, play D'Angelo Malone because of that, they could probably go more heavy in the trenches this week, and then like from pass rush standpoint. So we'll have to see. All right, guys. Last thing I'm gonna talk about today is the atmosphere in the stadium. This is our first game back since we played the Aints, um, and I'm just trying to say Anybody that's going to the game, anybody listening out there, if you can come to the game and bring that same kind of atmosphere that you had when we played the New Orleans Saints in the first game of the season, it was electric out there. That's one of the loudest I ever seen. The stadium since it opened. So that atmosphere is definitely going to help this team um, win. And I'm gonna keep talking about it all year. Trying to create that home field advantage for this team. So that's one of the things that these guys got to do. So um, moving forward, hopefully these guys can start stacking wins because at first, they had to give the fans something to cheer for. It's just not going to be they're going to cheer even though the team, is giving up 400 yards a game. It's they just don't go. And Arthur Smith understands that. He already said it. They got to put a product on the field that the fan base can actually get behind. I think these guys heading in the right direction. But we're saying that on Sunday, guys can get out there, be loud like they were um, on that the first game of the season. We know the Browns fans travel, so they're going to be there. For some reason in Atlanta, all the fans, other team fans are already there anyway. They travel there, so we'll just have to be louder than them and give these guys something to go out there and try to get to 500. Right, that should be their mindset. All right, Atlanta Falcons haven't been 500 or over since 2017. So that should be one of the things that they could just look for. Right now, go out, get this game, get at 500, put yourself right in the mix. In the playoff push with all the other teams. Um, Already won as many as games as everybody thought they was going to win. Um, Showed that the Atlanta Falcons is on the rise. I don't know so much thing that these guys can do. Show the fan base that they want them to continue to come out and support the team. Those are the kind of things we want to see from this team this weekend. But the atmosphere in that stadium, if it can be loud, it can be pumping, and we can actually see some good things. So, guys, that's all I have for today. Um, Going back in, like I said, one of the things that I just wanted to talk about earlier was just we talked about it at the beginning of the podcast is the fact that this 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 regime is doing a great job roster building, and they created depth this year to be able to withstand injuries if necessary. I think all over the team. Um, so if we do have guys go down, I think we still be competitive. I mean, you can already see we have so many guys on injury reserves. We still in the game right now, so things like that is definitely um, good for this team moving forward. We can see the roster. Think about next year. Don't really like talking about next year because we in this season right in the midst of things. But next year we're gonna have a lot of cap space, so these guys can continue to build this roster and get it to where we want it to be. All right. Those draft picks that they drafted the first 2 years is definitely going to improve. And then we can bring in some veteran, free agents guys from free agency to help this team round out. That's what we're looking for, right? So from a roster building standpoint, depth building standpoint, I think these guys are on the right track. All the things that we talked about, the matchup against AJ and Cooper, being there with Stalker Joku, the offensive line against the defensive line, right? And then last thing but not least, that audience in that stadium, those guys got to come out and represent once again. And hopefully the Falcons give us something to cheer for. Who would be impact player on defense, offense? For me, um, on defense, I would say I'm going to go out and say somebody. I'm gonna say Michael Walker on defense, right? Um, he's the one got the green dot on. I think he's going to have a big role playing coverage against David Njoku. Hopefully, he can get these guys on right. He almost got his hand on another pick last week. If he just turned around a little bit sooner, he would have had him a pick. Maybe had a pick six, another pick six. So Michael Walker is my guy on defense, and then on offense, I'm gonna say Marcus Mariota. It's time for Marcus Mariota to have a complete, clean game for us. And if he can do that, I think we'll win this game. So defensive player for me is going to be um, Michael Walker, and the offensive guy. I want to see Marcus Mariota have a clean, complete game for us. Um, Gray said if Cardell Plaza doesn't play, we might lose. Can't front. I think he's going to go. Don't worry about it. I think Cardell's going to roll out there. I think he'll just be cautious this week. Um, just making sure he got the rest he need. I think you and don't be surprised if you see that throughout the season, that he's going to take some veteran days off, man. I mean, he's probably one of the oldest guys on the team, so he deserve it. We already know he's capable of. He don't need to go out and practice every day, so hopefully they just gave him a couple rest days to heal up and get his body ready to go for Sunday. We just need to get win and see what we got to say. Yes, yeah, we get this win, man. It's going to be interesting to see what the national media start to say um, about this team, right? Because the numbers are there. All right. The numbers, if you look at the numbers, the Falcons are there, especially on offensive side of the ball. They're there. They're competitive as hell. They're in all the games. We just ain't won, we lost 2 games. So we got to be able to finish. And we was able to finish those games, they'd definitely be talking about us. But if we get this game, it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to say. And then Wallace say, yeah, Carter playing. I agree. He's playing. I think that just put him on the list questionable because he ain't practiced all week, right? But I think Cardell is going to be ready to go on on Sunday. I would be surprised if Cardell Patterson does not play. I really would be. Um, yeah, and I talked about him earlier. Another veteran, coming out, he definitely can help us. He got hurt like what the first player of the game, second player of the game. So we really haven't seen what he's capable of doing. Um, he has a lot of talent as well. Go back and look and see what he did against when he played with the Chiefs. So I agree with you on Damian Williams. And then while it says here, yep, I he's going to rest him every week. I agree. So be prepared to see him on rest day, limited practice, probably rest of the season. I agree with Wallace. Um, he already know what he has in CP. This guy is a monster, man, and believe it or not, we got him for a bargain. Right? This is another kudos to the front office is getting Cordell Patterson for a bargain because I think if he might could have got more somewhere else, but bringing him back, paying him what we're paying him, and he's one of the most valuable players on the team. Um, saying a lot. So kudos to this regime on that. So guys, thanks for coming on. Enjoyed talking to everybody. We'll be back on here Sunday after the game. Hopefully these guys can pull off a win, and we will celebrate us being 500 for the first time since 2017. 5 years. So um, that's going to be good for us so we can pull off this win. So guys, that's all I have. Talk to you guys later, and this is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. Peace.